investing is an emotional test disguised as an intellectual test. I'm very excited by sort of the intersection of robotics, AI, crypto. Like, these are all the kind of mega trends. And I think it's natural that they intersect and reinforce each other.
Welcome to the show, Chris. Great to see you again. It's been too long.
Great to have you back.
Last time you were on, we got to time you up perfectly with Brian Armstrong. Today, we just missed each other by one day.
24 hours.
But great to have you here, and would love to get the update from you and how you're framing the current crypto era. It's in many ways linked to the AI boom, but somewhat disconnected. Like, how are you thinking about even just framing the conversation and setting the table?
Yeah, so we just put out our State of Crypto report today, which I think had a lot of good data. I think the good news is I think things are trending very well. I think the reflection of smart policy mainly that the Genius bill passed, which is very important, which has helped the sort of stablecoin growth. I think what it shows, like what Genius shows, is the dual effect of smart policy, which is, on the one hand, it provides a pathway for innovation. So we're seeing not only startups, but big companies like Stripe and fintechs, BlackRock, Fidelity, and so forth get involved in the space. But it also kind of eliminates a lot of the scams and bad behavior, right? So what we're really hoping for is a kind of similar result with the so-called market structure bill, which is being considered by Congress, which would provide a similar kind of policy framework for the rest of the crypto market beyond stablecoins. So I think that this kind of momentum is reflected in the data that we shared today. So, for example, stablecoin volume is now in the trillions. That's adjusted. We have an adjusted metric we use, which tries to remove a lot of the bots and other kinds of stuff.
Sure.
And very importantly, that's not correlated with trading volume. So it seems to be like sort of genuine, people using for payments and treasury management and so forth. So that's a big deal. We're seeing a lot of cool kind of new emerging applications at the intersection of areas like crypto and AI, in an area called DPN, which is decentralized physical infrastructure, which is a way to use kind of crypto to incentivize the build out of telecom and energy networks and so forth. We're seeing there's a big movement of so-called real world assets, which is to bring like stocks and bonds on chain. A lot of good momentum. I mean, honestly, like we had it was a choppy couple of years. 2022 to 2024, and I think we're kind of coming out of that, and I'm optimistic, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, I always wonder about the value of these like high level market KPIs in crypto, because it feels like as soon as we latch onto one, we identify one that seems to be tracking well, then it gets all thrown off by just an underlying shift in the market. Like people were tracking like number of Bitcoin wallets for a while, and that, like, the idea that the next generation will even be aware if they have a wallet, because they might own it through an ETF, or they might have a wallet that's abstracted away and they're not even aware of it. And I'm wondering, like, there's this like sort of like the midwit take is like, oh, the KPI flatlined, but the community overall keeps growing. And so if you were taking a victory lap in 2023, you missed out on the next wave, which looked different and didn't map onto the previous era of KPIs. And so I'm wondering, like, is there some ground truth that you like zoom out to that's just like the vibes or the people or the talent or something like that? Like how do you get away from this particular KPI needs to be deprecated, basically?
Yeah, I mean, there are some just to be fair to the KPIs, like, and I think Darren, who is our head of data science of the report, is very thoughtful on that. Like the stablecoin volume uncorrelated to trading.
Oh, sure.
It seems like a real metric. That's kind of more tech metric. Monthly active users. That's not people that hold crypto. The number of people who hold crypto is in the hundreds of millions. What we track is people that are actually using these kind of new apps that are on chain.
Got it.
That we put between 40 and 70 million. There's an error bar there because we have to get rid of bots and other things, but it's definitely been growing. And that's like monthly active users of apps. So, it feels like a real metric that's sustainable, to your point.
Yep.
But it's a good point. Like a lot of venture capital and startups is vibe based, right? Is qualitative. I think it's definitely better. I'm actually having our annual founder summit now, and like it's just the mood is better. People are building and people are innovating. It feels like offense, not defense. A lot of that's the policy shift. But
the policy shift is big. Also, just like I feel like the bull case for bear markets is that it washes out a lot of the tourists, and then the technologists stay.
It does.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I mean, I've been, obviously doing the internet stuff my whole career and seen many waves. including I started my first company in the internet downturn of the 2000s, and and there was this kind of what is it, strong men create weak times meme or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I like that crypto as an industry rewards people that have an unwavering vision and are okay with you have to have some appetite for failure.
You got to be a missionary.
Yeah, and I think that's like healthy. It's like, you have to actually believe in this long term. You have to be okay with the risks. You have to be okay with like a total ban scenario in a specific category. My question for you, prediction markets are having, massive moment right now. And this was something that I'm sure you were writing about more than a decade ago in terms of its potential. And there were various kind of attempts at prediction markets that never really reached like cultural relevancy and the scale and the way that they've reached today. What kind of categories do you think people have like thought had potential but kind of wrote off? Maybe they were too early, but we'll be talking about in like 2 years. Is it privacy, ZK proofs, things along those lines?
No, it's a great question. If I could just address your prior point about the whole, sort of sticking with it first. I have an unwritten blog post that I would title "Investing is a emotional test disguised as an intellectual test," meaning one of the things I've learned over the years is just like sticking with it in venture capital, whether it's crypto sort of more extreme. I think this is true of public markets if you read like Howard Marks and Warren Buffett, but it's definitely true in venture, which is a lot of it, the business is just sticking with stuff. The same with entrepreneurship when it seems, kind of tough. That's, I think it'd be made as a great point. To new emerging areas. Yeah, look, I think privacy, it's interesting. Like we had a lot of privacy is a very interesting area. Now the stablecoin bill passed, a bunch of folks like in the policy side who were kind of anti-encryption and privacy are now saying, wait a second, all the stablecoin payments are public. That's not good. What if you want to do financial transaction healthcare? We're like, yes, we agree. That's why we want it. We don't want it for illegal activity. We want it because that people want, in normal cases, they want privacy for some of the things they do. And so we think that's very important. We have a bunch of investments there. Yep. Prediction markets, it's great to see them break out now. As you said, the idea goes back. I wrote a tweet about it, back to Hayek in the 50s. And, DARPA started a prediction market, believe it or not, the government in 2021, I believe. 2001.
Wow.
Something like that.
Wait,
so
what was that? Was that just like, just for intel purposes, they
wanted to predict like, is there going to be a war in Iraq? And then they thought, okay, like it's a little bit distasteful that people are betting on it, but the societal benefits would outweigh it. But then there was such controversy around it that they canceled it. Wow. There are now rules, as there should be, around so-called harmful prediction markets, and you can't have those. But the kind of the core argument for prediction markets is that, yes, there's sometimes, on the one hand, it's sort of gambling and betting. On the other hand, it has a real benefit. As we saw, for example, in the election, you can get really objective data. And in a time in which, trust in institutions seems to be dropping, like, do you trust, the newspaper anymore? It's nice to have an objective source for that. So, but back to your question, I think privacy is very interesting. I think, I'm very excited by sort of the intersection of like AI and crypto as an example. Yeah. My experience in tech is that often, like if you think back 15 years ago, people talked about mobile, social, cloud was like the three buzzwords. And some people saw them as kind of different categories. In the end, we actually learned they were all very connected. I think that tends to happen. I think a lot of these things will converge, robotics, AI, crypto, like these are all the kind of mega trends. And I think it's natural that they intersect and reinforce each other.
Are you seeing a speed up in crypto startups' productivity on the actual software development side, like coding agents for Solidity, or actually having a increase?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You are.
Oh yeah, definitely. Almost all of our company, we encourage them to use Cursor, and so is that what you mean, like the AI?
Yeah, exactly. Because as a consumer, I see the data from like Anthropic and OpenAI and Gemini. I see that like tokens are being spent, but then a lot of the consumer software that I use, the United app we like to pick on, or like the flight booking app, it just feels like it's not like become all futuristic all of a sudden. There's still bugs, and so I'm always interested in like. Startups are in a unique case where they can adopt new technologies and actually new workflows and maybe gain the productivity benefit faster than legacy companies. So I'm just interested to see if it's a unique use case. Yeah. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I think it just takes a while for these things to propagate, right? Like
Totally.
United App, be the last one to do it 5 years from now or whatever. But the startups are all using it,
Yep.
using things like Cursor. It's amazing. I mean, I saw some study out of some university that was like, these tools don't make you more productive, and if you just use them I spent a Christmas break playing with Cursor, last Christmas playing with Cursor, and I built a website. I mean, it's just ridiculous how great these tools are. Of course, they add to productivity. It's just these things take time. It's like humans. The bottleneck is always humans and policy. I would say regulation and humans take time to change behaviors, right? But as you say, startups tend to be the first to adopt it. Yes, we see it across the portfolio. We would be kind of surprised and I don't know, like just it's like puzzled if somebody wasn't using a lot of these AI tools.
It'd be a kind of a red flag.
What does institutional adoption and embrace really look like? Like what are the kind of buckets? Like the base case is you're supporting custody and maybe trading, and then
the CEO
more
stop
advanced
talking trash at some point, and then start saying this is amazing.
Saying that it's a joke. That's helpful. But how quickly do you think these major institutions can actually adopt crypto rails for operationally, right? Their job is to store and move money. Crypto's more efficient in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of think like crypto's a network. I mean, it's a network technology, right? It's about building networks. And it was a network where 99%, like stablecoins as an example, where 99% of the potential nodes in the network felt like they couldn't join the network for regulatory reasons. So now they're all, I think it'll see it in stages. So like the fintechs, the sophisticated fintechs like Stripe and, Robinhood and Revolut and things will be first. And then over time, you'll see, I think eventually you'll see just like a button on your Chase Bank that's like send, and maybe they don't call it stablecoin, maybe they call it digital dollars or something. But you'll see, it'll just be integrated into all the kind of fabric of these systems. And we're seeing a lot of activity. I mean, even, Chase, I think Jamie Dimon talks trash, but I believe they have 1,500 people on blockchain projects. So like, I think the important thing is the bit has flipped where, like if you talk to the folks that are like, look, we want to do this, but like our legal teams won't let us. Like now we have legislation, which is the gold standard of policy, right? U.S. Congress passed law. So like now they feel comfort to do it. And that's very, very important. And I think the bit has flipped where they now see it as not a threat, but an opportunity. So I think it'll be, it'll take time. It'll be different kind of tranches of adoption based on how advanced the companies are. But I think we're on that clear path now.
Is there anything that's been interesting for you guys on the buyout side, like looking at, let's say like a mid-sized financial institution and realizing like, hey, this is a great business, and if we actually were to
like
acquire them.
General Catalyst did with that healthcare network?
Yeah, something to that effect, or some of these
I think you'll see that. You'll see that. We don't actually do that. It's not really our thing. Like we do kind of stage venture, but mostly in some later stage venture. But
wouldn't it be fun to do an LBO?
Yeah,
I think it's one of these things that probably sounds fun.
Yeah.
And then you're like those people, like we get to mostly hire people in venture. Like LBOs, you're mostly firing people, and it's just like a structuring. I don't know. I mean, probably a grass is greener thing. It sounds fun, and then you actually go do it. I think it's also just hard to actually change these organizations. Sometimes there's a real question like, do you need just new organizations started from scratch, or do you change them? I don't know. It's not my area. I'm just speculating. But mainly it's just not our thing. But I think other people are doing it, and I think they, the other firms doing it will, I think, accelerate the adoption of new technologies like AI and crypto.
Yeah. How do you envision the role of the venture capitalist changing over the next maybe decade in crypto? I feel like there's one world where you become half VC, half hedge fund person that's trading liquids at the earlier stage because companies are kind of doing on-chain IPOs in earlier stage, but you still need to build a position and take an opinionated view of the future of the technology, assess the team. How is all that evolving? How do you think that will evolve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, what we do, we've done for a long time, and that's one of the reasons we started a separate crypto fund, right? Is we both do kind of early stage traditional venture and do things like buy tokens like Bitcoin directly in the market. And then we have our own like custody and trading, and we sort of built out all these capabilities. At some point, you'd expect that some of those things to, be subsumed by outside organizations and kind of commoditized. And these practices, I would expect, would propagate to other firms. But like, I just look at venture like through the lens of like core, like the fundamentals are always just great people.
Yeah.
Like we're ultimately in the talent business. So there's all these other kind of mechanics and things that we've built up. But in the end, we're just trying to bet on brilliant founders who have great ideas. And that can just, the way I view it is that can come in many forms. That can come at the early stage equity investment. That can come as a token investment. We're also betting, of course, on communities. You think about something like Bitcoin, like it's really a community at that point, and it's sort of this network and community. And so I look at it through that. I always try to, whenever the markets kind of get strange and things are happening, I always say, let's go back to first principles. First principles is like believe in the, positive vision of the future, great entrepreneurs, doing, pursuing big ideas, highly technical, highly product focused, and then whatever mechanics we need to do to get exposure to that.
I don't know if this is possible, if this has already happened, but would you ever see yourself backing a project that looks like Bitcoin, in the sense that the founder's anonymous, you can never meet them, but for some reason you do have the ability to make an investment, like a venture capital investment? Are you equipped to make that deal happen?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So yes, we can just buy. We can just buy tokens, OTC, and we have an operation. We've had that. People don't seem to know. They think of us more as venture. We've had that since 2018.
Totally.
Just for record, yeah. And actually, I would say roughly 2/3 of our investing has always been that. I mean, that was part of the design and why, I wanted to spin this out, so that we could set it up from first principles with this structure. So we have.
I want to be a crypto VC, but I don't want to buy tokens.
That's an
that'd be insane.
For sure.
Well, there's a whole. I can tell you, it's a longer story. It's a whole backstory where it was just very challenging. The LPs. So when I raised the first crypto fund, I went to all the LPs and I said, look, we're gonna buy tokens, we're gonna do this, and you can opt out or opt in, and some of them opted out, and some opted in, and just look, this is what we're gonna do. Mm-hmm. So we have a venture structure. We're a venture fund in the sense that our LP relationship is a long-term relationship. They lock up their money, but on the it's sort of the reverse mullet or whatever, where on the back end it's like a very traditional venture, but on the front end we can buy tokens, we can do equity investments, whatever way that we need to get exposure to great ideas and great people, we can do. And that's been our kind of design from the beginning, and we continue to do that.
Yeah. In this analogy, I feel like the venture part is the business in the front, and the open market trading is the party in the back. But I don't know. It's a stretched analogy potentially. But I like a mullet analogy. It's great. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Great to get the update.
Sorry for giving you a couple minutes.
Have a great summit.
I'm sure it's going to be a great time.
It's going to be an amazing time.
Great to see you both.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.